RFK Jr. from the interviews I watched has always taken the high road and said countless of times that personal digs amongst each other in the process of campaigning doesn't get us nowhere but brings more division within the people. Do I care? Connecting people with policy. Hey guys, how's it going? Y'all, before we begin, you know the drill. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I said subscribe, turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Did I press the record button? Okay, yes I did. So today's video, we are watching breaking news. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fires back at Stacey Plaskett, accusations that he is racist. How do y'all feel about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Me personally, when he first announced that he was running, I honestly didn't pay a lot of attention, not gonna lie. But after looking at the polls and seeing his interviews, he's gaining a lot of traction. And so I started doing personal research on him. And he's actually not that bad. There's some stuff about his past that I'm like, wow, like kind of iffy. I wouldn't say wow about, just kind of iffy on. But overall, he's not as bad as I thought he would be, mainly because of like obviously the way media tries to portray people. So that's why I tell people always do extensive research on people. So after I started watching more of his interviews and getting to know him as a candidate, he actually isn't that bad. I feel like he actually has a really good shot at taking the like winning primaries against Biden. Like, it's going to be really hard for him to do it, especially since Biden is an incumbent, but I don't think it's impossible. I think if they were to do debates, if the DNC sponsored a debate, then he would really, like, his chances would really skyrocket, especially like putting him in the face of more of the American people. But since they're not doing that, it is going to be very, very hard for him. But he actually isn't that bad, to say the least. So I would really suggest y'all do personal research on him, learn more about him. But yeah, just to get into the video, we're watching Robert F. Kennedy firing back at Stacey Plaskett. Apparently she insinuated that he was racist or anything of that nature. I haven't watched it yet. I'll be, but let's get into it.
Chairman. Mr. Chairman, maybe we could put 5 minutes on the clock then, not 10.
Hold on, y'all. Okay.
Could we put 5 on the clock and we'll start it running?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to put aside my written statement for a moment.
Real quick, if this is your first time listening to him speak, he's addressed his voice before. He said, I think it was about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, it was back in the late 90s. There was something that happened to him. I don't know the specifics, but he said the story countless of times. Oh, excuse me. It was like an accident or something, and then he just came back from surgery not that long ago, and he said his voice is actually getting better, but he doesn't feel like the pain or anything like that. He just says that's like how his voice is currently. But just putting that out there just in case it's your first time hearing him speak. But yeah.
And address one of the points that was brought up, I think an important point by the ranking member, that this body ought to be concerning itself with the with issues that impact directly the American people. The rising price of groceries, 76% over the past 2 years for basic food stuff, the war in Ukraine, the inflation issues, the border issues, many, many other issues that concern us all as a nation. We can't do that without the First Amendment, without debate. When I gave my speech, my announcement speech in Boston 2 months ago.
I hate and love telling people that they got the Congress they voted for.
Like, it's actually ridiculous and beyond laughable.
YouTube, I talked about all those issues. I focused on grocery. I focused on the fact that working class people can no longer afford to live in this country.
Exactly.
I talked about inflation, all the issues that deeply concern you, and that you've devoted your career to alleviating those issues. 5 minutes into my speech, when I was talking about Paul Revere, YouTube deplatformed me. I didn't talk about vaccines in that speech. I didn't talk about anything that was a verboten subject. I just was talking about my campaign and things, the conversation that we ought to be having with each other as Americans. But I was shut down. And that is why the First Amendment's important. Debate, congenial, respectful debate is the fertilizer.
Something that I do like about him that I highly respect is that people, when you watch his interviews, people will try to bait him. Certain people have tried to bait him in the past. They want him to talk down on Joe Biden's health, for example. And they would bring Joe Biden's health and ask him, do you feel like he's fit? Can he physically do another 4 years? Because if you follow RFK Jr., you know he's very, very fit. He's really big on working out. And they would use that, trying to have him use it as why he should be in there instead of Joe Biden. And RFK Jr., from the interviews I watched, has always taken the high road and said countless of times that personal digs amongst each other in the process of campaigning doesn't get us nowhere, but brings more division within the people. And that's something that I highly, highly respect.
It's the water, it's the sunlight for our democracy. We need to be talking to each other. Now, this is a letter that many of you signed, many of my fellow Democrats. I've spent my life in this party. I've devoted my life to the values of this party. 102 people signed this. This itself is evidence of the problem that this hearing was convened to address. This is an attempt to censor a censorship hearing. The charges in this, and by the way, censorship is antithetical to our party. It was appalling to my father, to my uncle, to FDR, to Harry Truman, to Thomas Jefferson, as the chairman referred to. It is the basis for democracy. It sets us apart from all of the previous forms of government. We need to be able to talk, and the First Amendment was not written for easy speech. It was written for the speech that nobody likes you for.
Ooh,
and
that's a word. First Amendment was not written for easy speech. It was written for the speech that nobody will like you for.
I was censored not just by the Democratic administration. I was censored by the Trump administration. I was the first person censored by as the chairman pointed out, by the Biden administration 2 days after it came into office. Anti-Semitism, racism, these are the most appalling, disgusting pejoratives, and they're applied to me to silence me, because people don't want me to have that conversation about the war, about groceries, about inflation, about the war on the middle class in this country that we need to be having. And by the way, I want to say this while I'm on the record, that in my entire life, and why I'm under oath, in my entire life, I have never uttered a phrase that was either racist or anti-Semitic. I have spent my life fighting my professional career, fighting for Israel, for the protection of Israel. I have a better record on Israel than anybody in this chamber today. I'm the only person who has publicly objected to the $2 billion payout that the Biden administration is now making to Iran, which is a genocidal program. I'm the only one who's objected to that. I fought more ferociously for Israel than anybody. But I am being censored here through this target, through smears, through misinterpretations of what I've said, through lies, through association, which is a tactic that we all thought we had been discredited and dispensed with after the Army McCarthy hearings in the 1950s. But those same weapons are now being deployed against me to silence me. I know many of the people who wrote this letter. I don't believe there's a single person who signed this letter who believes I'm anti-Semitic. I do not believe that. There is no evidence of that. Now, I want to say something I think that's more important, and it goes directly to what you talked about. ranking member, which is the need, this toxic polarization that is destroying our country today. And how do we deal with that? This kind of division is more.
The amount of division in this country if it doesn't scare you at this point, then you're part of the problem. Like, if you don't see how divided we are as one, then you are part of the issue. Like, I feel like I'm only, like I said, I'm early 20s. So, like, life is just starting, literally, low-key, like, but I feel like I've never seen so much division in my life until now. Literally. I feel like this is why it's important. This is why, like, as I get older and my political views start to grow, no, not even my political views, my faith in God starts to grow, I remove myself from tunnel vision. Because you see the world in it's bigger than just tunnel vision. It's bigger than party affiliation. It's bigger than that. Like, yeah, this is
dangerous for our country than any time since the American Civil War. And how do we deal with that? How are we every Democrat on this committee believes that we need to end that polarization. Do you think you can do that by censoring people? I'm telling you, you cannot.
You can't.
That only aggravates and amplifies the problem. We need to start being kind to each other. We need to start being respectful to each other. We need to start restoring the comedy to this chamber and to the rest of America, but it has to start here. My uncle, Edward Kennedy, has more legislation with his name on it than any senator in United States history. Why is that? Because he was able to reach across the aisle, because he didn't deal in insults, because he didn't try to censor people.
At least he practices what he preaches, like how I was saying earlier, how they were trying to bait him to talk down on Joe Biden, and he stood his ground and was saying that in the midst of this campaign, talking about making personal digs doesn't get us anywhere. Like, at least he practices what he preaches.
He brought home people who were antithetical to what he believed in. He came home almost every weekend with people like Orrin Hatch to our house at the compound in Hyannisport. At that time, Orrin Hatch to me was like Darth Vader, because I was an environmentalist, and I was saying, why is Teddy bringing this guy home? But he knew that he was effective because he understood that comedy and respect and kindness and compassion and empathy for other people is the way that the only way to restore the function in this chamber. But more importantly, today, we need to give an example in the leadership of our country of being respectful to each other. If you think I said...
Yeah, he hit the spot on that one. No, that is... Yes, the example in our leadership. If our leadership is acting like children, being childish, throwing digs, and so forth, you are just setting the path and the trail for it. Everyday people. You're bringing division into everyday lives, because they see, oh, our congresspeople, our senators, this person who's running for president, for goodness sake, they're saying A, B, and C. So, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you have to set that example. Oh my gosh.
Something that's anti-Semitic. Let's talk about the details. I'm telling you all the things that I'm accused of right now by you. And in this letter are distortions, they're misrepresentations. I didn't say those things. There's fragments that I said, but I denounce anybody who uses the words that I have said to imply something that is negative about people who are Jewish. I never said those things. And I want to point out also that the chairman pointed to Dennis Kucinich, who's fighting behind me. There is no two people in the country who feel more differently about American politics than these two people. And yet they were friends. Dennis attended his children's basketball games, attended his daughter's wedding.
Yes.
This is what we need, how we need to start treating each other in this country. We have to stop trying to destroy each other, to marginalize, to vilify, to gaslight each other. We have to find that place inside of ourselves of light, of empathy, of compassion, and above all, we need to elevate the Constitution of the United States, which was written for hard times, and that has to be the premier compass for all of our activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know that Constitution part, but let me stop. Yeah, I really, really wish that they were doing a debate stage between. I would actually like to hear him on a big stage between him and Biden, because I feel like he has a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom that he has gained growing up and being in the family of the Kennedys that he can share and he wants to share with the people, but he's being not only silenced, but he can only do so much when you're not being pushed by your own party. I think obviously in hindsight, yes, the way it's always been, the party would always support the incumbent regardless. And even with the Republican Party as well, I believe they do the same thing. So because Joe Biden is re-running for that position, it only seems right or fair to them to support the incumbent. But also I don't think it seems right to them, but I personally don't think that's fair. Because I feel like what's best for the people is best for the people. If it's not Joe Biden, it's not Joe Biden. I don't think one person should be shoved in people's faces. But yeah, me personally, I generally do not know who I'm voting for. It's still early. It's still it's still early. I want to hear more debates. I want to see more interviews. Yeah, I don't know who I'm voting for, but Kennedy, y'all don't count him out, because he's coming up there in the polls. Last time I checked, I think he was at 12%, 13%, and mind you, he's not even he's just getting started. So yeah, man. If you like this video, go ahead and comment and share. Please, y'all, I want y'all to comment your thoughts, because be respectful though. Like how he said, we have to have a conversation with maturity. We can't gaslight each other. But no, I actually want to hear your opinion on this video, and I want to hear your opinion on Kennedy. I want to hear your opinion on the current Democratic Party and the current Republican Party. Who are you eyeing? Who are you favoring? Who do you want to learn more about? And so forth. Be respectful in the comments, y'all. I know it's YouTube, y'all be arguing anyway, but still. Yeah, so if you like this video, go ahead and turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I post another one. And thank you for watching. This is Uduak, connecting people with policy.